Welcome to The Writer's Dream. This is a show where authors can talk about how they write their books, how they publish their books, and how they market their books. Today we really have a special show, as you probably have heard a little yipping in the background, because the author that we have today has a little puppy with him. So, first of all, we have a Facebook page, and if you want to ask me a question or be on the show, please message me through the Facebook page. We also are on YouTube. You can also see us if you go to ltveh.org and look at, click on videos on demand and just look for The Writer's Dream, and you can see any of the shows. So we're everywhere, and we're happy about that. And so today our author is Robert Schonfeld. He is an author and attorney, and he is the author of All About Amber, Planning for Our Dog in the Event of Our Passing.
Thank you, Linda, for having me.
And also it was co-authored by Charlene Denson, who is here, but not here. So, and Bentley, right?
Bentley is right. Amber unfortunately passed away 2 years ago, and we got Bentley after Amber.
But Bentley looks just like Amber.
Very much, very close. Bentley's a little bit darker, and his eyes a little bit different. The personality's different, but they're very similar looking. You're right.
Yeah, it's a Pomeranian?
That's correct.
Yes, that was the dog who lived next door, who barked at me and tried to bite me through the fence. But he was a cute little dog. Tyke, his name was Tyke. I'll never forget Tyke. But the people next door had an attraction for crazy dogs, because the next dog was a schnoodle, and it was quite insane because no matter who came in the house, even the owner of the dog tried to bite them. So the dog was probably a little off. Maybe too much inbreeding.
No, Bentley's a good dog.
Okay, so tell us about the book.
We wrote the book in thinking about, we were in our 50s at that point in time, and we were thinking, what happened if we would pass away before Amber? Mm-hmm. We had Amber about 5-6 years at the time I wrote the book, and we wondered, all right, we're in our 50s, dog lifespans are not that long, probably Amber was going to pass away before us, which is what happened. But we thought, what about the opposite? Who would take care of Amber? And the two people who were closest to us are Charlene's mom, Audrey, and Charlene's brother, Craig, and they both live in Florida. And we figured they didn't get to see Amber very much, so we figured they need a guidebook. In the event we pass away, they need a guidebook on what is Amber like, what does she like to eat, what does she like to do, what's her personality like, so that it would smooth the transition in the event they had to take Amber, and they both would be very glad to take Amber. It would smooth the transition to go from us to Amber if that had to happen. Something like that happened in my family, because this book could just as easily apply to kids as it could to dogs. My closest aunt died when she was very young, at age 39. She left my two cousins. And had my uncle passed away, we would have taken in my two cousins, at which point we would have gone from a family of 4 to a family of 6. And because they lived in New Jersey and we lived on Long Island, my parents didn't know my cousins that well. So it would have been helpful for them to have a guide to my cousins. And this type of book, even though it's written about a dog, it could be applied to kids too, that if people pass away.
People don't think about that. They don't think about, making a legal document as to where their children will go if they, in fact, die in an accident or prematurely from some disease or whatever.
It's more than just legal documents. More than, we're not writing a book on how to write a trust, or I'm not a trust and estates attorney, but it's not a book on how do you write a trust for a dog.
No, of course not.
It's basically something which an attorney or a friend should be asking everybody. Yeah. What happens to the dog? And we often read ads in shelters where people had to surrender their dog because they lost their house and they had to go to an apartment which didn't take dogs, or they get transferred somewhere else and they couldn't take their dog with them, or they're too old, or they pass away. And many shelters, such as ARP out here, would get dogs from people who've passed away or who just are too ill to take care of the dog anymore. Yeah. At which point it's very nice for ARP to pass the dog on to another family. But the problem is the family doesn't know enough about the dog before getting the dog.
Right.
And
Well, I understand that's the purpose of your book, but my question to you is, because you're an attorney, is the best way to do some kind of legal document to protect the animal?
Absolutely. My firm does legal documents. We have a trust in the State's Department which does legal documents. They could easily do a trust for a dog or a cat or any other animal, or just like any other child.
Or your children.
Or children. But I think you need just more than a legal document. think you need a little bit of a guidance to explain to the next person what's the dog like, or what's the child like if there's
sure.
a child involved. And
Sure. Well, hopefully you will, in the case of children, you'll leave the children to somebody who kind of knows the kid.
No, when I've done wills and trusts in the States, I've always made sure that the the next family would understand what the child is about.
Yeah, because you really can't ask somebody to do this without asking their permission.
No, we never do that. We never just foist a child or a dog on somebody who doesn't
Lordy.
want the child or the dog.
No. But most of my animals, I'm trying to think, all of my animals have come from shelters, so I am assuming that, they were left there because older people couldn't take care of them anymore. I wanted to get, after my mother died, I wanted to get my father a dog. And he said, no. And I'm really glad I respected his wishes and didn't foist a dog upon him, because I would not have wanted the responsibility of the dog after he passed, simply because I'm not home enough. It's cruel to me. To me, it's a cruelty to have an animal that you can't spend time with.
You're absolutely right. A dog is a big responsibility.
Yeah.
It could be for 15 or so years. And it takes a lot. You have to put a lot of effort into the dog. Bentley, for example, needed a lot of assistance and help and attention when we first got him. Amber was a little bit easier to handle. Amber, we got it 10 weeks old, and she was much easier, and we were able to train her a lot quicker. Bentley got a little bit later age, and he had some habits already by the time we got Bentley, which we had to take him out of. So Bentley was tougher to train. Bentley's an excellent dog now. He's a very different dog now than when we got him.
Yeah.
But Amber, and the personalities are different, but Amber was a lot easier.
So tell me about Amber.
Amber was the love of our life, just as Bentley is right now. She has a different personality. She loved to go everywhere with us. She was a very warm dog. She was a very sweet dog, a very beautiful dog. She loved people. Did not love dogs as much, but she loved people. She loved going everywhere with us. If we were to go in the car without her, she'd scream and bark. She could go to restaurants. She could go to hotels. She won there used to be Plum TV out here in the Hamptons, and she was elected the Dog of the Month one month. And what happened was she had a fashion show, in effect, in a pet store in Southampton, which was her friend Aunt Pat. She made lots of friends. She stayed she stayed at the Plaza Hotel. She stayed at the Topping Rose out here in Bridgehampton. She was just a wonderful companion, very friendly, at least to people, and just very affectionate and very, very smart, very, very human-like. She did lots of things you wouldn't expect of dogs. She did a dog walk across the Brooklyn Bridge. She was in a contest, a photo contest at the East Hampton Library of reading to dogs. I read to her book, and it was in a contest. So she did a dinner with all sorts of a number of dinners with all sorts of dogs, and she got on a TV show, in fact, in this station with another interviewer many years ago. So Amber got to do a lot in her life, which is not typical of dogs, and she enjoyed life to the fullest. She really enjoyed. When she walked, she would explore everything. She'd sniff everything. She'd explore, and she'd react. We would take her to some place called Martha Clara Vineyard, which is up in the North Fork.
Sure.
And they used to have an emu. And the emu kind of walked around strangely, made strange noises. And we'd go. They used to have tours of the winery, and we'd pass the emu, and the other 14 dogs on the tour would just pass by, and Amber would scream and start talking to the emu. So it was. Amber had a huge, large personality. Just didn't like dogs very much, but just was a lot of fun to have.
So you never took her to the Westminster Dog Show, right?
No, we wouldn't.
No,
and
because she doesn't like dogs.
No, and we were not into shows. She was not standard. When you go to a dog show, they look for dogs which are standard. They have to be a certain height. Perfect.
Yes.
And she was not a perfect height Pomeranian. So no, she never went to a dog show. She won costumes for for cutest dog. She won costumes for best Halloween costume. But no, she would never be going to a dog show to measure her against other Pomeranians.
I had an Irish terrier, not a setter, a terrier. It's a small dog. Well, bigger than her, but bigger than him, but a small dog. And she was such a good dog, such a smart dog that she could read your moods. And she was so comforting because she would know when you were sad, and she just seemed to know what to do whenever, and she was a really, really good friend. I missed her when she passed. They say that the worst thing about pets is that you outlive them.
That's said, and our book was about what happens if that doesn't happen. What happens to the dog or the cat or the child if you don't outlive them. But,
how does Bentley get along with the cats? You have 2 cats.
No reaction whatsoever. He really has had no reaction with the cats whatsoever. He doesn't scream. He doesn't bark at them. The cats have no negative reaction. So really, neither he doesn't engage with the cats. On the other hand, he doesn't scream and yell at the cats. He's good. He's much better with dogs than Amber. We can take Bentley to dog walks, and a typical example would be different. If I took Amber to, let's say, the off stroll to the sea, Amber would have to go in a carriage. She wouldn't walk the mile to the sea, to the ocean. She'd have to go in her own carriage and be pushed to the sea. Bentley has to be, he thinks this is competitive. He has to be at the front of the line. And he has to run like on 2 feet so he can be the first dog on the line to get to the ocean. He doesn't like the beach. He doesn't like the ocean at all. But he loves dog walks. He loves other dogs. He has to greet all the other dogs in the, we take him to a dog walk or to some dog event, which we can much easier than we did Amber. He interacts better with dogs than Amber.
So tell me more about the book. What's the makeup of the book?
The book basically is divided into various sections. It's basically a guidebook to Audrey and to Craig as to how do you handle Amber. What does Amber wear? And since she would be going to Florida, it would be different than what she'd be wearing here in New York. What equipment do you use for Amber? What food does she like? What activities does she like? What's her personality like? And it was dividing it up into that so they understand fully Amber. It's not probably the hardest part of the book, hardest problem of the book was keeping on scope. We could tell lots and lots of great stories about Amber, and we do tell some of them in the book. But this is not a book merely about Amber stories. It's a guidebook. It was aimed at Audrey and Craig and at other people who would be possibly buying the book to understand that you should write something very similar to this, and write so people know.
Or this book.
Or this book. Well, this book's about Amber, so no one else is getting it. No one else would have gotten Amber but Audrey or Craig. But this would be, to write a similar book all about whatever. We're going to be writing one about Bentley in a few years from now. We want to get to know Bentley a little bit more.
How long have you had Bentley?
We've had Bentley 2 years now.
Okay.
So we want to get to know Bentley a little bit more. I have to write the book differently. Audrey is now 82 years old. She's still in excellent health. She's in good shape. But I just hope she stays in good shape in case she gets Bentley. So it's a matter of, the book is just divided into sections, not as much stories about Amber, but more about what are Amber's likes and dislikes. How do you handle Amber if you have to have Amber on a day-by-day basis? We tell stories about Amber.
So what's your favorite Amber story? You can read it if you want to.
No, it's okay. My favorite Amber story basically was, we were on the set of Plum TV during 2007 when Plum TV was still filming at the Bridgehampton Historical Society. And we were invited on the set, and Amber behaved very well, except for the day where there was somebody had hawks and owls, and then Amber didn't react very well to the hawks and the owls, and we were escorted off the set. But basically, Amber got to meet a lot of people, and people really interacted well with Amber. And I started to see that Amber really liked social events. And so we had people anywhere from Carl Bernstein to Dylan Lauren, who's the daughter of Ralph Lauren, runs Dylan's candy stores, would come over. In fact, Dylan Lauren was interviewed on Plum TV, and the moment she got off the interview, she went right to Amber to say hi to Amber. She passed over a whole bunch of other people to get to Amber. Amber had a lot of fun with the set that year. Everybody treated her like royalty. They kept focusing on the cameras for Plum TV when they had an intermission would focus on Amber, and she just had an awful lot of attention. I think because of Amber, they had a Dog of the Month contest. There was 2 other dogs entered, but we knew the person who was running the contest, and I think he put his thumb on the scale in
Oh,
favor
dear.
of Amber. So we were there. Amber won the contest, and they did a video of Amber. They did a documentary of Amber, and
A documentary, I like that.
and then Amber, as I mentioned before, went to her Aunt Pat, who has a dog clothing store in Southampton, and they did a try-on. Amber likes trying on clothing. Bentley not as much, but Amber loved trying on clothing, and had a good time with Aunt Pat, and that was what the show was about. And we still have it. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Later that year, we went in. We met the Mickey Paraskevas, who's a cartoonist. He does, I think, cartoons for Dan's paper, and he had Amber in a video at, when F.A.O. Schwartz was still in business, in a Halloween costume with she was in a fairy contest. And after that, Amber would come out here a lot of times. We spent a lot of time out here in the Hamptons. She thought the Hamptons were her second home, and she had a good time at contests, at walks. And basically anything which was an event where they could focus on Amber. Amber was very conscious of the fact that she was very, very pretty and very attractive, and she knew that, and she acted that way. She'd go into a store, and she would...
She was a diva.
She was a diva. That's exactly what people wrote about, that she was a diva.
The diva of the dog world.
She was a diva, but we had a lot of fun with Amber, and she was just a wonderful member of
So
our
you could
family.
write a sequel and call it The Diva of the Dog World.
We could. In fact, when Plum TV did a summary of that season, the question they had is Amber a diva or a dog? They asked that question.
See?
I was able to write. I wrote for Dan's paper actually 2 years ago after Amber passed away. I wrote a synopsis of Amber's time out in the Hamptons, and it was a lot of fun, a lot of good memories we had with it.
So in your opinion, this is a sad question, but in your opinion, what's the best cure for when you lose a pet? Because it's very painful to lose a pet.
Amber did us a favor in a really weird ending. Amber, we found out, was sick. She had liver disease, and she was sick a couple of months before she passed away. And she was basically dying for the last month. We knew that. We knew we were going to lose Amber pretty well. And ultimately to the point where we had to call a person to do euthanasia in the home. And the moment the euthanasia vet came to our house, Amber stopped breathing. She dropped dead just at that time. It was really weird. It gave us, we didn't want to
She was a diva.
Yeah, she was a diva, and she didn't want a final act, and she didn't want to give us, didn't want chemicals to go into her body. I think what helped us out was, number one, having great memories of Amber, the fact that we had given her 13 spectacular years. And I think that helped us. We really lived them. It's kind of like the Jewish tradition of Shiva. We relived a lot of the things Amber did over the 13 years that we had Amber. And that, I think, helped us get over Amber. And I think, secondly, getting Bentley.
That's right.
We were very fortunate. We found Bentley we were very intensive in looking for a dog pretty quickly after Amber, because we knew that we had to have another dog.
Yeah.
And we found
Well, I think that's the cure.
and that was the cure. I wasn't quite sure about that, but I thought after we spent a week with no dog, we said we had to have a dog. And we found we were very fortunate to find Bentley pretty quickly. And I think fortunate for us was the fact that Bentley, another thing about Bentley being male is different than Amber being female. And I think the important thing about Bentley is that he's a different personality than Amber. So we can do things differently with Bentley than we did with Amber. So Bentley likes to socialize with dogs. So any event which involves socializing with dogs, I can bring Bentley to socialize with dogs. Amber not so much. On the other hand, Amber liked hotels. She liked restaurants.
She's like Eloise, right?
Kind of like she stayed in the plaza, and
She did say it a lot. Oh,
she stayed in the plaza a couple of times, I think. And Bentley, we've never taken to a hotel. I think he's a bit more of he likes going out. He likes doing things with us, but I don't think he likes strange places or places that are very new as much. Although he's behaving very well here today.
Yeah, he is. Well, he's got his mommy.
He got mommy, but I think he's behaving very, very nicely. But I don't think he'd be as react in a hotel as well as Amber. So there are things we can do with Bentley. Bentley always likes agility. He takes agility classes with Arf. So I think there are things we can do with Bentley. Amber, we once tried to get into these tunnels, these dog tunnels, and she walked the other way. She had nothing to do with that.
I don't do those doggy things.
She wanted nothing to do with that whatsoever.
That's
so
funny.
there are things we could do with Amber we can't do with him, and there are things we can do with Bentley we can't do with Amber. And I think it helps us that we're not constantly comparing Amber and Bentley, that we have two dogs who are very different. They look a little bit alike, but they're very different in personality and very different interests. And so it's not like we're repeating Amber and therefore comparing Amber to this and Amber to that. It's a matter that this is Bentley, he's a different personality. So I think having a dog of a different personality and a different gender perhaps, and just different interests, I think that helps us out also.
Yeah,
We're not comparing the two dogs all along and saying one's better than the other.
I know, I've always had cats because cats are easy. You know, you don't have to worry about walking them, and you don't have to worry about being home all the time. But when all my cats have lasted like close to 20 years, so you're really attached to them by that time. And so when they die, it's really pretty traumatic. And the best cure is to go to a shelter and get 2 more cats, because you have to think in terms. I have to think in terms of you're doing a service. These are animals who would not have a home unless you provided it for them, and that's what you do.
You're absolutely correct about that. Absolutely.
So so anyway, getting back to the book, how did you publish?
We published, and it's something which years ago I wouldn't have done. We self-published. I did send it to a number of book companies.
Me too. No, I'm just saying, me too.
We sent to a number of companies, and traditional companies. Nobody was interested. I didn't think